Hello YouTube, this is that BMX guy, and today I'm going to be upgrading a power supply in an older system. Now, if you look at this older system, it doesn't look very new. It's kind of like a very old Micron case, but don't let that fool you. There's something a little nicer in there. But the goal is to upgrade it. I bought memory for it too, which is not here. So, my first goal is to install this power supply. So I bought this EVGA 500 watt power supply. It says 80 plus certified, whatever that really means. It's not gold, I guess it's a white color. It's a gold or silver. But it was only 40 bucks. So I can't really go wrong with that. Try to get it out of the package. EVGA is one of the companies that I have been kind of faithful in buying from. I just know my video cards are by them. I haven't really tried any of the power supplies yet. This is the first one I've ever purchased. Did they cut that? It's a little more of a involved process. This is some normal stuff. It's a normal size power supply, so it shouldn't be difficult. It comes with screws. You get a very small gauge power cable I'm probably not going to use. And here is the unit. This is the box. It's going to sit in the bed. It'd be nice to actually have a cable, but I don't have one at the moment. Comes in this nice little black case. Packaged very well, so you can't get off easy. If anything else. Okay. So there's your voltages, if that matters. It doesn't show a test or anything. The back of it looks like this, and that should be fine for this case, hopefully. Well, we'll figure it out in a second. That might be an involved process, hopefully. Not, but that on-off switch is the only thing that might have to change some things. But we'll see. But it's a nice small power supply. It should fit in there. The way the cables are, unlike the Antec one, the wires are on this side. So that should be a little bit easier to manage. Yeah, I bought this on Newegg. Newegg's a computer supplier, at least it used to be. Now this is everything. Okay, so the wires, you get Molex plugs for your fans, since they're seemingly for nothing else. You got serial ATA power cables. You got this 20 plus 4 pin. So if you have an older system that doesn't use the 24 pin, you can just take that away. But at least you can use both, either or. This needs to be an 8 pin connector for most CPUs that also turns into a 4-pin connector for the older systems, which is what I'm going to be doing. That's why I bought this for the most part. I do need Molex connectors for CD-ROMs, even hard drives. These are for the video, so if you had the 8-pin connector on your video, if it focuses, you can also get the 6-pin connector instead. Depends on how powerful your video card is, and you got more serially ATA. I don't know, this is 2 sets of those. So there's plenty of connectors that are compatible with just about every computer for the last 15 or so years. So, could be laid on top of it. Black screen for a second. Okay, so this is the case. Like I said, it's a Micron case. What's in here though is a ASUS M3A78, which is a AM2 plus board. I have 4 gigs of memory. They are Micron 4 gigs. This is a Phenom II 920, which is a quad core. But as you see, I have a 24-pin to 20 adapter with this old Antec True 400. Well, I guess it's true. It's a smart power. I don't know what it is, but I think that guy's about dead. But yeah, I have one hard drive in here that uses the Molex connector. This is XP 64-bit edition. And this GT440 is the graphics for the XP. And the Sound Blaster XFI is for some sound. I was originally going to make it like an HT or home theater PC. Instead, I just use it for video editing. I don't use it for video editing for the moment. It's just set up to run. But for video editing, I have a 600 gigabyte hard drive. That's SATA. And then I have a GT1030, which will go back in here. But at the moment, I'm just going to set it up so that's just changed. Maybe in the future video, I'll add the RAM and I'll change the video card to the GT1030 versus the GT440. And that faster hard drive that I actually kind of like using. There's a tray right here that holds hard drives. I kind of like putting the hard drive right here. This hard drive in particular is a hot running hard drive, because Maxtor was known for that. Maxtor hasn't been around for a very long time now, so this is kind of like a antique hard drive. But it's still a pretty fast hard drive. Anyway, I'll start pulling out these wires, and in the next clip you'll see what's left. So, after a few seconds, so it didn't take that long. The hardest part was getting the hard drive to come out, since I have to take the hard drive out to get the plug off. Everything else just came right out. It's nice and open in there. This in particular case did have a bigger motherboard in there, but that little opening can serve more than one purpose. It can actually take the wires and kind of route them past it. Otherwise, I kind of stuff all the wires like around this area. We're going to see how the sizing is. Like, as far as height goes, they're the same, and length goes, they're the same also. Now, this power supply still works. It still has served its purpose. And maybe I'll just check inside of it, see if the capacitor is still good. Not too long ago, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, probably a couple years after having this, the capacitors did blow up on the 5-volt rail, and I replaced them with Panasonic caps. So I'm going to take a look at the caps after some time, but that's not going to be in the video. It doesn't even matter. So we have this guy, which I'll just go really right in the opening. First off, we're just going to see how it fits. So there's a little lip of some kind. And there are other reasons why this won't work. Okay, so before I go any further, it's obvious that the switch it's underneath that thing, but I don't know what's holding me out. I think that's technically where we're supposed to be. So it does look like the switch works. It's stuck in neutral. Okay, so I'm gonna have to either bend that thing out or just cut it. It's not really hindering the case's strength where it is. As you may notice, that this area right here is modified. If you know how these cases already have a back plate that's kind of only to these cases, this was cut. I cut this guy to fit a normal IO shield on there. Okay, so in a second I will just cut this thing. So as we're back, I cut away the whole thing. I'm gonna file a little bit just to make sure it doesn't cut me. But basically there was already like a little like dimple seam from it being formed, so I just broke it away. Might actually break it away a little bit more. That wasn't too bad. Okay, so now we can see how this fits again. There's like a little lip that you can kind of see that I have to get this to line up with. And that's kind of important. And it snaps in there. It literally just sits like that. I'm just going to use the screws that I had since it's easier than sitting there looking for black ones. And that kind of reinforces the whole top. And voila, it's screwed on. It's a little easier doing that without holding the camera, but yes, it's this nice black power supply when the rest of the case is just using that old sheet metal galvanized look. I don't really give a crap about the color. This computer is just a workhorse in a sense, so I'll start managing the cables. I can't necessarily manage the cables with one hand either, so I'll just sort it out in a sense already. So yes, they're a mile long, but with new cases, the power supplies are here now. For the longest time, they used to sit here at the top. Now, with even normal cases, you can kind of get the wires to go behind the wall to go between the back panel and this, but that doesn't really work here. So what I'm going to do is just figure out a way to do it. But I only need 4 of these guys, and I definitely need that 24-pin connector to just plug into this case. Which way it connects is unclear. It's this way. So we'll try to aim the camera at where we're going. That's not too bad. So, theoretically speaking, this can go here and just sit right next to that little opening. I can even just get it to sit in this area. I was thinking about just adding the CD-ROM. Maybe not today. But I'll just start sorting these wires out. I'll show you the finished rough project. So the rough connections are basically, we got the 25 or 24-pin connector. We have that 4-pin connector instead of the 8. Make sure the 2 yellows are on the top, 2 black cables or ground wires on the bottom. These are the 2 cables that definitely aren't getting used, which one is this one serial ATA and one is the VGA one. They're not going to be used with this because it's both the video cards are going to have a plug. So they're just nice low profile simple video cards, not some fancy gaming video cards. So they're going to be wrapped up and bundled up in this little opening here. This cable right here is temporarily going to be hooked to this hard drive with the closest possible cable. These old Molex cables, I'm surprised they even come with cases anymore, which is, I guess, for mainly fans now. But when I put the CD-ROM in here, it's going to actually use this Molex cable, and I guess it's just going to use the ribbon. This old IDE ribbon that goes all the way down to here, because I don't have that many serial ATA CD-ROMs. The one CD-ROM that was in the one computer at the apartment in the city, that one, the CD-ROM that stopped working, so I had to replace it. I kind of have one CD-ROM right behind the door here. That's for a new computer, eventually. Yeah, new computer. That's what I should be doing, but I don't have any money, so yeah. I'll show this as all the wires are in and all tied up. Okay, so the wires are all kind of tied in the way, hidden in the nooks, as much as they need to be, because like this Molex connector is going to actually go to the CD-ROM. This one's going to go to the other hard drive when that's in there. They just have to be out of the way as much as they need to be. I believe this is a cover. It would be nice to be able to do things with this one, but so basically I have no drives, I just got covers. Hard drive is bolted in place. As far as I know, it should work. Oh, I still gotta connect this guy. Maybe I'll connect it right now. But yeah, I'm gonna hook it to where it's kind of a, you know, test bed station area in a second. Okay, so testing it, I just lay it on the ground. This is the monitor I'm gonna use. It's an Acer monitor. It sits over here. I will plug that guy in. Network cable. Audio cable. Power cable. It's actually flipped over, which is kind of interesting. Yes. Of course. This is a old style keyboard that's on here. This is an old Dell. Just uses a PS2 cable or PS2 connector. The mouse, that's the mouse. I forget who makes it, but it's a mouse. So all that is connected that needs to be. This is other wire sitting here. Keyboard. So I'm holding this way. Usually something makes it so this is a little closer. Angle it. Vector. Power supply up. There's no noticeable noise or hiss, so that's a good sign. So we'll power it up. So powering up shouldn't be too much. Let's try to get stuff out of the way. Shouldn't be really that much to do. So this says Windows XP 64 on that little hard drive. So let's wait for it to finish. So the whole idea of putting the power supply in maybe took 15 minutes. But all the BS. Well, a little more than 15 minutes. So yeah. It's easy. So I gotta type in the password in this one. I'm not really sure if I have a mouse. Found or USB. Okay, so I must have plugged a different plug. Or maybe before the USB ports weren't working because there was no power. I don't know what that is. Found new hardware. Doesn't matter. But yeah, that's just 2 partitions on that drive. And there usually is some kind of CPU ID or something. Not on this. So we don't know. I just got the drivers, the firewall, stuff that it needs. As far as I know, it's working fine. That is the AMD Phenom II X4. I think when I bought it was only 50 bucks. Just like the motherboard was maybe like $20 or $30. And that was like 10 years ago. They seem to be having more value now, which is interesting about them. I guess they're not that bad. The GT440 is okay. I just know I can't update anything on XP, so I might as well not bother. We do have CPU ID somewhere. We'll look for it. We'll just take it right here. Yes. I think that's all the CPU ID I need. So this doesn't really tell hardware voltages or anything. It just kind of works. But yeah, I don't really know where the voltages are so much, other than it just tells you what type of voltages are on there. Doesn't really tell me anything. I think this is the one maybe it tells me stuff. Yeah, so with no load, it looks like the voltages are okay. 3.3 to 3.3. It's over 5. It's over 12. That's -6 versus -12, but I don't know what that means. That's -8 versus -5. That's -4. Cores are at pretty much max speed temperature. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just need an update or something. But yeah, the voltages look fine as far as the main ones. 12 volts, 5 volts, 3 volts. The rest of them, this might be like something to do with the readings. But it looks like the power supply works fine. I can try to add a little bit more CPU usage for a second. It's just hard to see through the camera. If I run this thing, which I haven't run for a long time, on this computer, but once it starts, it should start heating up the CPU and other things. So under some kind of CPU load, the voltages aren't really dropping, they're kind of staying the same. this isn't folding at home either. Like, folding at home probably makes the voltages drop a lot more. That kind of looks like the power supply is fine. For a cheap $40 power supply, I have to say that EVGA 500 watt guy is pretty good. For an old system like this, it's simple. It doesn't even have a CD-ROM. Maybe that's what is making the voltages a little bit off. There's no CD-ROM. There's no SATA drives or anything like that. Just a sound card. Other crap. But yeah, it doesn't like the voltages are whimpering or anything. They're kind of staying about the same. But I'm not overclocking either. It's a stock speed. There's nothing really that interesting about it. Anyway, that was installing the EVGA 500 watt power supply I just got into my old video editing system that's kind of lingering at the moment. It will be video editing soon. It seems like I got more USB ports than before, so that made a big difference. Before it didn't really show all the USB ports. I think they kind of shut themselves off for whatever reasons. So now there's like lots of them. Sound card is doing fine. It's an XFI. Other things. But yeah, that computer's fine. Let's turn this off. Let's power it off. And that video was less than 30 minutes. So it turns off. That's all it needs to do. Until next time, I'll add more RAM. I bought, this is just two gigabytes, so it's 4 gigabytes. I bought 2 more 2 gigabytes to give it more RAM. And I'm going to put the other hard drive back in it. I'm going to just put the CD-ROM back in it that wasn't in it, or was in it before. And I'm going to change the video card and other things. So anyway, this is that BMX guy, and thanks for watching.